kind of long, but worth the watch. What the heck is this?
And what would you say at a party? Jamming on the one.
Jamming on the one. Jamming on the one. Jamming on the
Music sampling is defined as taking part of an existing audio source, a sample, and then using that sample as part of a song. In essence, sampling is the act of taking any pre-existing sound and using it as a sort of instrument. In the hands of a skilled musician, literally any sound ever made in human history could be sampled and used as part of a song in some way, including other songs. While sampling nowadays is quite commonplace in the music industry, sampling
Can we
itself
put
is a
some
fairly recent
Subway
creation.
Surfer
The earliest known
gameplay
use of
on the
sampling dates back
side?
to the 1940s, with
Hell no, low attention span Andes. They said Subway Surfer on the side? Oh,
instruments like the
man.
Chamberlain using magnetic tapes to store audio recordings, which could then be played back by a keyboard. The sampling as we currently know it wouldn't be fully realized until around the early 1970s, when the first digital music samplers were released. Even then, it wasn't until the advent
Says
of
the
portable
Nigo
samplers in the
W8
1980s
show
that sampling
sped
became
up
more
the
widely
video.
accessible in both its reach and utility. The advent of sampling sits at a fairly pivotal point in musical history. Its inception is intrinsically connected to relevant music genres at the time, such as funk and soul, while the use of sampling was instrumental in shaping future genres, including drum and bass, house, and hip-hop. While the driving philosophy behind sampling had already found its footing with DJs even before the release of digital samplers, their lower bar for entry made it easier than ever for any artist to take any sound
Yo, the reason why I speed up videos, chat. Alright, you know what? Fuck it, chat.
they wanted and use it to produce something entirely new. I started off with just this.
That's all I heard, just that part, and I just kept looping it.
As the 1980s gave way to the 1990s, music sampling slowly became more of a mainstay within the industry as instruments grew more commonplace.
Thank
and
you,
as
Noah.
the product of rapid technological developments, these new musical advancements ran parallel to another then burgeoning technology, video games. There was a point in the early 1990s where not only had sampling reached new heights of popularity among mainstream artists, but the sound chips found in gaming consoles and arcades had become advanced enough to play back more complex sounds. As a result of these developing technologies and their growing adoption by the masses, the 1990s became something of a convergence point for video game music and sampling, and video game composers have since found very creative ways to use sampling. In this video, we'll be covering a wide range of unique samples across decades of video game music, showcasing different types of samples and even the mysteries behind some of gaming's most iconic music samples. Make sure those headphones are strapped on tight. You're gonna need them where we're going.
Okay.
The level select theme in Super Mario 64 is as simple as it is iconic. The song is just a short a cappella rendition of the overworld theme from Super Mario Bros. And nothing else. It's also an easy introduction to one of the greatest assets to any musician in the 1990s, sample CDs. Sample CDs are a type of sample library filled with pre-made sound files specifically meant to be sampled by musicians.
You said how long is this?
In
30
practice,
minutes.
They fill the same niche that stock footage and sound
Chat was
effect
like, hey,
libraries do.
man.
Why go through all the effort of struggling to create a good beat when someone else has already done it for you? Sample CDs are filled with a variety of sounds meant to be used in tandem with samplers or synthesizers, letting composers manipulate.
Now, this
or
looks like a
mix
good
these
video,
sounds on
though,
the fly.
realistically.
The contents of these sample CDs could vary tremendously, ranging from the note of a single instrument all the way up to vocal samples provided by other people. The latter is especially true for a sample CD known as Voice Spectral. Even if you've never heard of the CD itself, you've definitely heard at least one of the vocal samples on it before. Along with almost every other texture and sound effect in Super Mario 64, Nintendo doesn't own the rights to the sound. You could use this sample in your own work and Nintendo wouldn't be able to do a thing about it. This wouldn't even be the only time that Koji Kondo used sampling in his music. His work in Ocarina of Time has probably one of the most famous uses of sampling in video game history.
Isn't that the dungeon? Who the fuck is calling me scam? Oh, bro, I ain't picking that shit up. Suck my dick, bro. I ain't picking that shit up. That's a skamaz. Yeah, the fire temple, right?
Bro, that's me calling clueless.
The sample used in the Fire Temple theme is famous enough that its story has been documented pretty extensively at this point. In fact, if you haven't already, I strongly recommend watching the episode of Pop Fiction dedicated to the full story behind the Fire Temple theme. Suffice to say, the soundtracks for Ocarina of Time and
Thank you,
Majora's
Noah.
Mask both make heavy use of sampling, but it's for that reason I think they further prove that Koji Kondo is one of the all-time greats. There's some really creative use of sampling across both games that you wouldn't immediately suspect.
Iceland 1 Distorted Reality. Damn, final
Very few
hours.
songs encapsulate the same feelings of helplessness and resignation that Final Hours does. It's one of the most powerful, emotionally charged songs in the entirety of the Zelda series.
True.
Which makes it all the more impressive that the sample used is effectively the skeleton for the entire song. In Koji Kondo's eyes, this sample was the perfect instrument to convey those feelings of hopelessness and dread in Majora's Mask. In the hands of Stuart Copeland, the same sample made for a pretty good backing track in Spyro the Dragon. All of this preamble is meant to help.
Yo, I don't know what it is with Spyro, but every time I look at Spyro the Dragon, I just hate it. Like, I kind of have good memories with Spyro, but I fucking hate Spyro, bro. Na-na-na-na-na. Then the stupid ass stages where you're like, go through 10 hoops, blow up 10 barrels, go through the fuck that shit, man.
Get across the idea that sample CDs can be really powerful tools.
Yeah, I
thousands
hate
of
it.
different physical sample CDs and digital sample libraries released by this point.
Like,
all for
Spyro
the
is a
sole purpose of
collectathon
being
kinda
used
game.
in music production. So no two collections of samples are
Yeah,
exactly
the flying
same.
stages,
While
bro.
Voice Spectral was dedicated exclusively to a range of versatile vocal samples, the next set of songs all feature samples from Rhapsody Vocals 2, a sample CD filled with freestyles that's proven to be pretty popular among Japanese composers.
Ding-a-ling, ding-dong, I'm ringing bells and
Ding-a-ling, ding-dong, what?
Lurch comes to the door and says, you rang.
I said, baby, I don't care what you say. I just looked at you and I just wanna pass you on by. I said, baby, I don't care what you say.
I'm in the house like carpet. There's no way that this shit came from this, bro. I swear.
I just looked at you and I just wanna pass you on by. Feeling is getting harder and harder. See what you see, what you think.
On a mission, kicking knowledge on a different level. Makes a lyric like the bass with the treble. Take a deep breath.
This is 100%. I'm in the house like carpet.
Getting funky as my lungs release. Knowledge on a different level. Makes a lyric like the bass with the treble. Take a deep breath. Getting funky as my lungs release. A solid rhyme.
It's time to let the words flow off the tip of my tongue and let my thoughts grow like a seed in the soil it's planted.
Causing much mayhem, dropping drama. Radical rebel with the need to bomb her.
It's time to let the words flow off the tip of my tongue and let my thoughts grow like a seed in the soil it's planted. So like a forest, my brain's expanded.
Causing much mayhem, dropping drama. Radical rebel with the need to bomb her.
While we're on the topic
That's a
of
bop.
Capcom,
That's a
it
bop.
seems like they had a strange phase around the turn of the millennium where all their fighting games just kept using vocal samples.
Swing your body. Swing your body.
Can you listen? Microphone one check. Can you hear me? I feel the vibe.
Mastermind. Mastermind.
This is the true love we're making. This is the true love for you and me. This is the love we're making. This is the love we're making. This is the love we're making all the time.
Of course, it's important to note that not all sample CDs contain samples created by the company producing them. Remember, music sampling was founded upon sampling other songs. Some of the earliest sample CDs contain samples ripped from pre-existing material, like TV shows, public speakers, or even other musical artists. It was all fair game in the infancy of sample CDs, and it's sample CDs like these that would eventually become the bread and butter of a certain Hideki Naganuma.
Would you stop playing with that radio of yours? I'm trying to get to sleep. Would you stop playing with that radio of yours? I'm trying to get to sleep.
Get something together! Give it all you got! Get on the move!
It's just like when you got some coffee that's too black, which means it's too strong. What you do, you integrate it with cream. Too black, too strong. Too black, too strong. Too black, too strong.
For the average composer,
I didn't know that. You telling me Sonic had a Malcolm X speech as a sample in one of their songs? That's crazy.
sampling a Malcolm X speech would be seen as one hell of a deep cut. Not only is it just another normal day for Hideki Naganuma, but it's also not even the strangest audio sample used in gaming. Enter Yasunori Mitsuda, a legendary composer whose credentials include Chrono Trigger, the latter two Xenoblade entries, and the recent Dungeon
That's all I had to see was Xenoblade, and I'm like, aight, respects. This man has Xenoblade under his belt. Aight, GG's.
Actually, anime. His body of
He got
work is
Mario Party
legendary,
too?
but he's not a composer known for using sampling in his music, outside of one special occasion.
Xenogears? Is this the game that everybody in the chat keeps telling? Not the chat, but I see a lot of people talk about like they want a remake of this game. This is the game? Xenogears?
To touch more on Spyro, the fourth game is unfinished as it contains gems full of samples. Half of its soundtrack was unpublished. Peep a minute of this when you feel like. Link.
Okay, I'll definitely check it out after this. Yo, thank you, Owl. But hell yeah, something about Spyro, bro. Like, I remember when I bought the Spyro trilogy to try to, like, and it was like the remake, and I tried to get back into Spyro. Oh, it's just something about Spyro. I don't know what it is, bro. I just dislike everything. Monolith doesn't have the right to
Apparently,
Xenogears?
A number of people over the years weren't sure what phrase is spoken during the bridge in Night of Fire. Allegedly, even Mitsuda himself tweeted at one point that it was a coined phrase, which it clearly isn't. The same sample can be heard more clearly in Command & Conquer Renegade, a game that released only 4 years after Xenogears. So where does this sample really come from? Thanks to the work of a few curious posters on GameFAQs, the source of the audio was traced back to the trial of Christian Brando. The original audio from the trial can be heard more clearly in Listen to Me Marlon, a documentary centered on Christian's father and legendary actor Marlon Brando.
Total sentence imposed is 10 years in the state prison.
While Listen to Me Marlon released in 2015, the trial itself was held in 1990, and a transcript of the court tapings wasn't released until 2004. It's likely that Mitsuda and Klepacki both got the audio from a sample CD in the early 90s, but how the audio even found its way outside the courtroom still remains a mystery. This is far from the only dead end regarding the source of audio samples either. In fact, there's another potential use of sampling somewhere in Masafumi Takada's body of work. He's used sampling in his work before, as you'll hear later, but this particular one from Killer 7 doesn't seem to have a clear point of origin. Pay close attention to the whispers in the backing track of the song. You should just barely be able to hear a woman whispering, "Forever." It should sound pretty familiar if you're a fan of Platinum Games. Both composers probably got the same vocal sample through the same library, but its exact whereabouts are still unknown. In my search for that sample,
Bayonetta's so fine. I could just watch her walk. That's all I need. I just want to see her walk.
Although, I did stumble across another shared sample from the Command & Conquer series, one that used to be seen as a mystery itself.
Have we seen the actual reality of a monstrous crime? Their power to overwhelm and destroy.
Your feeling of helplessness is your best friend, savage.
Each of the vocal samples used in Brain Freeze are taken from the same sample CD, but it's this one that's the most interesting. After a curious Reddit user by the name of McMastersBVS started a search for the sample source over a decade ago, others online were actually able to track down the source, a 1966 drama known as Mondo Keyhole.
Have we seen the actual reality of a monstrous crime? Or merely an illusion, the product of a tortured brain?
The samples used in Red Alert 2 are just a small excerpt from a longer narration, which can be found in a Methods of Mayhem sample CD. And Red Alert 2...
Bro, just looking at this video makes me think to myself, like, bro, to be a musical person or, like, you know, be a composer, trying to, like, make your own beats and shit, bro, your audio library in your head must be insane. Like, the amount of research you have to do just to, like, search for these and then understand and learn all the popular samples, all the samples that are probably not that popular. It's insane, dude.
Isn't the only game to use the sample.
The mind of man rests on a delicate balance between reality, the world of light, and the other, darker world below the threshold of consciousness. The mind of man rests on a delicate balance between reality, the world of light.
As you can probably tell, composers kept on sampling well into the late 2000s, and there were plenty who continued sampling all throughout.
You said, or maybe it was
the 2010s.
random? It could be random. Oh my god, bro. Whoa. It's Dunban! Splatoon!
Yeah.
I know what this song is from. Oh yeah.
Incidentally, this sample might be the only time you could directly connect the Xeno series of games to a certain blue blur.
I can't hear you. I can't see you.
Woo! Sonic Riders,
While
bro!
Sonic is the series that Sega's probably still most associated with, it's far from the only series in Sega's catalog to use sampling.
Challenger, go with throttle up.
Hello, Daddy.
No, Jimmy. I love House of the Dead. Oh my god, that's from Majora's Mask, bro. That the wind, like the forest temple. Oh my god. Yo. Nah, this is Star Ocean, but that sound is definitely in Majora's Mask. I think so.
Let's go!
Bro, isn't that sound in Majora's Mask too? I know it is, bro. I know it is.
Don't give up. Don't say you.
It's also worth noting that this sample from Data File 2
Let's go!
shouldn't be confused with this sample from the same CD.
Let's go. Let's go.
It's become somewhat common knowledge recently that this sample is a line from Adam West's tenure as Batman in the 1966 TV series. The full version of the sample heard in Data File 2 even seems to support this.
To the Batmobile. Let's go.
While the idea that Adam West's voice is hiding in various
like
games
that.
makes for a fun bit of trivia, there's just one small problem. I've never seen any real evidence supporting that claim. After digging through various episodes in their transcripts, I found out that the line shows up just one time in episode 7 of season 1. However, the line as it appears in the Batman show proper doesn't match the sample heard in Data File 2.
Bro, people really watch this shit? This man has eyebrows on his mask.
To the Batmobile. Let's go.
If the sample is supposed to be Adam...
Oh my god, that's embarrassing. You saw that little skip he did?
To the Batmobile. Let's go.
If the sample is...
This man said...
supposed to be Adam West, then why is there such a big discrepancy between the lines? As it turns out, the sample heard in Data File 2 doesn't come from the Batman TV series itself. It was taken from a remix of the 1966 Batman theme, which comes from the first volume of the television's Greatest Hits album in 1985. So what if the sample wasn't taken from the TV series proper? It's still a sample of Adam West, right? The audio in the 1980s...
Speaking of that character, I saw all over Twitter. She was doing some weird ass... Whatever the fuck that is, I wasn't for that, bro.
5 remix is similar to the
I saw it on Twitter.
Batmobile, a song of the 1966 TV series.
I don't know what the fuck that was, bro.
Reuses Adam West's original line. However, nothing in the release of television's greatest hits credits Adam West and Burt Ward, while any credits found online list no proper citations. Furthermore, comparing the audio side by side reveals too many subtle differences.
To the Batmobile. Let's go. To the Batmobile. Let's go.
While the delivery is similar,
I mean, it's the exact same though. It's just one of them is pitched at a different pitch. It's the same audio.
Voices and even the sound effects in the 1985 remix are too different
bro,
for this to be.
Bro, it was even the same sound effect though. Like, did you hear the bum bum? Look. The door closing.
Too many subtle differences.
To the Batmobile. Let's go.
Dum dum.
To the Batmobile. Let's go.
Dum dum.
While the delivery is similar, the voices and even the sound effects in the 1985 remix are too different for this to be a simple case of pitch shifting. I just don't think that's Adam West's voice you're hearing in these games, meaning it's unknown just whose voice this really is.
The world will never know.
This recording was a sample featured on a popular sample CD. Third Strike is far from the only place you can hear it.
3, 2, 1. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. 3, 2, 1. Go.
As it turns out, Zero G's various sample libraries are home to more than a few iconic samples heard across a wide range of media. One notable example comes from the release of Vocal Forge, hidden away in a section titled Live Forever. It's a vocal sample that should sound very familiar to fans of a certain 2010 Gainax anime.
Heart stood still when we first met. I thought we'd be together, yet you're using me for
please
your
don't be
own gain.
Please don't be B-stars.
And now I'll never feel the same.
Oh no. Oh no, I purposefully don't watch this shit because it's too sexy.
Of course, what
I can't watch this show. Nope, it's too sexy. It's too sexy. It's too sexy. It's too sexy. It's too sexy.
CDs, which were among the first CDs
I can't watch
of their kind. According to the company's own website, they were also never sold with a commercial license. All 3 Data File CDs were strictly meant for
Season 2 is coming?
use.
Oh no.
Naturally, that never stopped composers from using Data File samples in their works.
We are controlling transmission. We are controlling transmission.
Work that sucker to death. Come on now. Work that sucker to death. Come on now. Work that sucker to death. Work that sucker to death. Come on now. Work that.
Even as gaming rolled over into the turn of the millennium and the 6th generation of consoles became the standard, there wasn't really a lull in the use of sampling. If anything, it only grew more prominent.
Bro, that shit sound like the Naruto Shippuden opening. What the fuck? Bro.
More prominent.
Oh my god!
Hey ya humla, hey ya ho, hey ya humla, hey.
Mario who?
While this video has focused pretty heavily on the use of sample CDs and VGMs, they're far from the only means of sampling audio. Remember, sampling is defined as the act of taking any existing sound and reusing it in your own compositions. It doesn't matter where the sound originally came from. In fact, due to how consoles and PC games used to handle music playback, a number of composers used to record their own instruments, compress the recordings, and then sample them in their own songs. It's the reason why games like Mario Tennis and Golden Sun had such similar soundtracks. Not only did Motoi Sakuraba score both games, but many of the instruments used came from the same MIDI sound module he was using to compose their music.
Yo, I heard Golden Sun came on the Nintendo Switch online service. Bro, that's a game that I legitimately want to play, bro, because Golden Sun is a good game. Like, I remember I played a little bit of it when I was younger. I never got to finish it. But that game is great. You said you won't play? I want to play it, though. But the backlog is eternal. You already know this, Nep Nep. You have a backlog, too. Everybody in the chat got a fucking backlog. Bro, there's too many games, bro. There's too many games. Everybody here got a backlog. I know everybody's backlog. You said, no, I don't. Afro, you're a liar. You have a backlog. Fabrinsky has a backlog. Golden Sun, Chrono Trigger are the same games I want to play eventually. Capri Sun has a backlog. Ruyolas, Zanrilla, you have a backlog too. Kami Koopa has a backlog. Lavender has a backlog. Owl has a backlog. You haven't played Chrono? Nah, I never played Chrono Trigger. Oh, that's where the sample came from? I fucking love Mario Tennis. Remember that one day where we played Mario Tennis for like a long time? Mario Tennis is gas, man. Wow.
This technique was used everywhere across the 90s, and as seen with Toby Fox's catalog of games, it's one that still lives on in some form even today. Undertale's soundtrack alone uses tons of sound fonts and samples from other games, to the point that there exist several fan efforts to identify and compile every sample used. When the time came to make a successor to the game, Toby didn't just keep using samples in Deltarune's soundtrack. He doubled down on it. Now, Earthbound itself is no stranger to referencing and sampling music. At one point, it was even theorized that Earthbound was denied a re-release for so long because its numerous musical homages might have teetered on the cusp of copyright issues. While this was never officially confirmed to be the case, it's true that Earthbound's soundtrack does make heavy use of sampling. Possibly the most creative use of sampling in Earthbound comes in the area before that final encounter with Gigas.
Spoilers out the wazoo, GG's chat. What the fuck?
This sample would later be reused in Amalgam, a boss theme from Undertale that heavily samples various songs and sound effects from Earthbound, including the same sample of Gigas' Intimidation that would later be used in Deltarune. Naturally, Deltarune is just one of the many games out there that samples other video game songs in its soundtrack. It's a lot more common than you'd think when it comes to the world of indie games.
Ooh, Hotline Miami, bro. Hotline Miami is so crazy. It's such a cool game.
In fact, why stop there? Why not just sample a random voice clip from a game and make a whole beat out of it?
Okay, unless I tell you otherwise, keep pushing forward.
Okay.
Sure. This song would end up being reworked in the eventual definitive edition release of Lisa the Painful, solely to replace that Shenmue sample entirely. Based on a tweet by the Lisa series creator, the reasoning for the change just comes down to the sample being from a game that they don't own the rights to. While this clearly hasn't stopped other games, it's hard to fault the guy. Let's just say that the legality surrounding what can and can't be sampled is complicated. By comparison, a more recent indie game ended up finding a way to skirt around this issue entirely. Pizza Tower is a loving tribute to Wario Land 4 in every sense possible, from the gameplay up to the soundtrack itself. Given that so many of the game's songs make incredibly heavy use of sampling, it shouldn't be surprising that a few of its tracks originally sampled voice lines taken directly from Wario Land 4.
The hello there. Every time I hear hello there, I'm like, bro, that's literally a Wario Land thing. Right there. Hello there.
Both of these samples would later be replaced with equivalent sound-alikes in the full release of Pizza Tower, likely for the same reasons as with Lisa the Painful. Of course, any sounds that weren't
beat is
directly
still
sourced
fire.
from copyrighted material were fair game to use across Pizza Tower's soundtrack. Pizza Tower's use of sampling was even used to strengthen any intentional references or homages to other games. With Pizza Tower's soundtrack being so reliant on sampling, it shouldn't be surprising to hear that it almost used one of the most famous and recognizable music samples of all time.
So that's like the Powerpuff Girls
The
theme.
sample from Amen Brother by the Winstons needs almost no introduction. More colloquially recognized as the Amen Break, the sample grew in popularity after its inclusion in Ultimate Breaks and Beats. It's no joke to say that this riff from Amen Brother has been sampled in thousands of songs across the past half-century.
It's
the
iconic.
Amen Break has grown so popular that its widespread use has become something of a punchline in recent years. I'm seriously not kidding when I say thousands of other songs have sampled this one drum break.
It's because it's too good to not sample. It's so good, and like, especially if you're like a producer and you can like make music, and you can mix it in with so much stuff beautifully. I never got to play this game. Splatoon!
The Amen Break is a sample with such a rich, long-standing history that it's almost single-handedly defined entire subgenres of music by itself. While its impact on music shouldn't be understated, Amen Brother is only just one of the most sampled songs of all time.
That right there is a certified hood soundbite. That shit. That.
Even if you've never heard Think About It before, you've probably heard this part sampled in other songs.
Yes.
Much like Amen Brother, the song featured a short drum break that's since been sampled so many times that it's gained similar notoriety as the Think break.
Amari?
The Think break isn't the only part of Think About It that's been sampled either. A few composers have gotten very creative with the song.
Yo, Super Monkey Ball had bangers, bro.
If you're having a hard time hearing the original sample here, I can't say I blame you. It's so sped up, distorted, and layered by other instruments that even I wasn't convinced it was sampled at first. But you can still just barely make out the brief vocals from the original song in Clock Tower. It's easily one of the most transformative uses of a sample in this video.
Jesus, you're gone.
By this point, it should be abundantly clear that the art of sampling never fell out of style with game composers. Even now, sampling can still be found everywhere in gaming. Obviously, a lot has changed in the near 40 years since sampling became a mainstay in modern music production. Technology has evolved so much that video game music isn't limited by whatever sound chips are in the consoles themselves now. Between this and the rise of the AAA video game, the soundtracks of most mainstream releases tend to skew heavily towards a more orchestral style nowadays. While you'd think there'd be less room for sampling to thrive in that sort of economy, this video should serve as proof of the contrary. It's not by coincidence or cherry picking that many examples of sampling in this video were of games released within the past 10 years, regardless of their scope or place of origin. Even outside of gaming, sampling has become extremely commonplace in music overall, so much so that the average listener probably doesn't even notice. There's probably no better example than Vocaloids.
Bro, the second I hear Navi go, hey! I hear that shit like it's nothing.
Or YTPMVs. One is a voice synthesis program that uses voice samples provided by real people, while the other is a genre of video that uses samples of other media in remixes. By definition, every Vocaloid song, YTPMV, and Ultimod ever released makes use of sampling. Even mainstream artists have continued
bro, that's like
sampling
YouTube
in their own
poop, bro.
album releases, with some having been found to sample songs from video games. Sampling has become such a mainstay in music that it's grown well beyond a fun novelty at this point. In this sense, the use of sampling itself has become almost invisible. Of course, none of this is meant to insinuate that sampling is bad. If anything, I think it's a technique worth celebrating, and
I agree.
know I'm not the only one who feels that way. The love for sampling is undoubtedly part of why others have made entire spreadsheets and videos dedicated to documenting the various samples used across gaming. While just about anyone nowadays can download and throw a bunch of samples together on their PCs, that in itself doesn't make the art of composing music any easier. Sampling is a technique. As with any technique, it demands practice to understand and master. Pretty much any artist can sample other sounds or songs, but how they end up interpreting those existing sounds into their own work is what matters. Ultimately, sampling isn't any different from when Nintendo used stock sound effects and texture packs across Super Mario 64's development, or how id Software turned photos of toys in real-world locations into some of the most iconic symbols and weapons in video game history. It's all the same principle of taking something old and transforming it into something new. Whether it's gaming, music,
I didn't even
or
know
film,
that.
You're
That's
bound
insane.
to find countless stories of people getting creative with the limited resources available to them. In a time where we're surrounded by technology that can automate and expedite so much of the creative process, it's important to remember that the human element remains the driving force of art forms like music. At the end of the day, sampling is just one of many tools in a creator's arsenal, and a tool means nothing without the hand to guide it.
I'm not watching that, bro. I'm not watching that. I'm not watching that. Good video. This video only got 4K views? This was a very well done video. Only 4K views? Nah, chat. Run that shit up, bro. Yeah, show this guy love. Ain't no way. And hit thumbs up, please. Give me a sec. Ain't no way. This dude only got 11K subs. That was a very well done video. Very well done.